The men and machines of the Offshore Pro Tour fleet have returned to the Florida Keys to kick off their second season. The monster superboats will face off with high speeds and battle the big water to claim victory in the first race of the season. From ESPN, it's the Offshore Professional Tour. The thrilling spectacle of multi-engine powerboats racing on waters all across the United States. Incredible speed, raw horsepower, and the will to withstand the pounding of relentless seas. The thrill of danger combined with the excitement of competition. The Offshore Professional Tour. The Florida Keys and Key West presents the Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge, sponsored by the Florida Keys and Key West. Now is the time to just let go in the Keys. Bud Dry, dry brewed so it drinks light yet satisfies completely. And by Super Hawaii Powerboats. Welcome to Marathon in the heart of the Florida Keys for the premier race of the Offshore Professional Tour's second season. Hello, everybody. I'm Art Eckman, and working with me again this year is Jim Hendrick. Jim, we've got new entries, new sponsors, even drivers changing classification.
Yes, that's true. Look at Steve Dorsich. Pro 1 last year, moves all the way up to the Superboat in a 40-foot skater called the Circus this year. And the testing this past week here before the opener has shown that some boats are going 30 to 35 mile-hours faster than they did last year.
I think there's going to be an interesting contrast in the Superboat class because you've got some small skaters that are allowed in the Superboat class this year with great speeds, lighter weight, and then you go all the way up to world champion size.
Yes, you can go from the world champion size, like Batista, 50-footer, all the way down to a 35. There are no 35s here. The smallest is the 40-foot skater, but they are really going to be competitive, I'm sure.
And all the crews love Marathon.
Yes, they do. It's so smooth here. It's so beautiful, especially on the Gulf side. But look out. You go under that 7-mile bridge out to Sombrero Light, you can reach 6-foot rollers. It could be rough. There will be a change in the water on this course.
Once again this year, looking at the action from up in the chopper is Rich Lures. He's over at Chopper 1 right now. Rich?
Thanks, Art. We're out here checking the weather patterns for the race coming up today. What we're checking specifically is the wind. It's been very, very spotty the last few days. There's a big question mark about that. At times it's calm, at times the water's calm, at times the wind kicks up and then you get larger and larger waves. Right now it's questionable. It's been high and low all morning long. We'll watch it as the race progresses.
We'll be keeping our eyes on that wind, that's for sure, Rich. The course, well, it looks a little bit like a boomerang, Jim.
Yes, it has long dog legs and the water's changed from of course, the Gulf side to the ocean side. The fleet will start off Ferro Blanco Lighthouse and race west along the 7-mile bridge for 3 miles in the Gulf of Mexico. At Moser Channel, the boats turn south through the bridge and into the Atlantic Ocean. It's then out to sea at checkpoints 2 and 3 near Sombrero Light. The fleet heads back through the 7-mile bridge into the protected waters of the Gulf to complete a lap of 21 miles. Each class takes a predetermined number of laps to complete today's race. 7 laps, 147 miles for Superboat and Open class, 5 laps, 105 miles for Pro 1 and Pro 2. And we have plenty of action as this course is laid out for smooth running and rough running. There are some new entries, Art, in 1991 in both Superboat and Opens.
That's for sure. In the Superboat class, Campbell Racing, Dan Campbell in a brand new 46-footer Jaguar. He gained some experience last year with Charlie Marks, a former national champion. Circus, a 40-foot skater. Stephen Dorsich and John Bruno. They went from Pro 1, the World Championship in the OPT, making the big jump to Superboat class. Number 40, Powerboat Marine, with Russ Wilkin, who teams with Jim Dyke, a veteran throttle man, and another 40-foot skater. A team to watch. There are 4 new open class boats. Hyperactive number 17 ran in the Sportsman D class last year. They've lengthened their boat to make it eligible for the open class, skippered by Tom Slamecka. Number 26, Ferrari Collection, a 35-foot Jaguar, similar to the 2-time former national champion Special Edition craft. This year, this is campaigned by Manny Fernandez. AES Motorsports, another team that has moved up in class. Alan Shapiro came from the Pro 1 division last season, and he teams up with veteran throttleman Joey Imprescia. Number 99, Ohio Steel, a big cigarette V-bottom run by John Revin. They need to have rough water conditions for this boat to show well. And Jim, how about some of the favorites now competing once again in OPT this season?
Well, returning in the Superboat class, 3 top entries, led by Spirit of the Amazon, the 1990 OPT World Champion, Ike Batista, and the veteran, Bobby Moore. Speaking of veterans, take a look at Tom Gentry and John Connor. Once again in this boat, the Gentry Eagle. They're going to make a challenge its fast this year. Improved Bud Dry with August Bush IV, teaming up with Jeff Soper. In the open class, Dirty Laundry, the World and National Open Champion boat of 1990, Joe Mock and Smitty Smith once again in the cockpits. Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier have a brand new sponsor, Excalibur Hotel and Casino. And 2-time Open champion, father and son team, John and J.D. D'Elia, back in special edition.
And Jim will also have some exciting action in the Pro 1 and Pro 2 classes. The start of the Florida Keys and Key West Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge in just a moment. The excitement is mounting as the crews test the unknown in this premier race of the Offshore Professional Tour. We'll also have a fascinating look inside the cockpit of the Superboat World Champion and the Open Class World and National Champions. This is Ike Batista, the Pride of Brazil, with Bobby Moore, and the duo of Joe Mock and Smitty Smith. They did it all last year. We'll see their reactions in the heat of battle.
Bernie Little owns the famous Unlimited Miss Budweiser and is team manager for Bud Dry. He says he loves to win, but making friends is more important.
We can't win them all. We don't want to win them all. Everybody's got to get the same thrill that we do. Thrill of winning keeps them coming back. And it's why we're here with Bud Dry. I want to tell you that this is a great sport. These OPT boats are unreal. And out there in those waves, it's going to be one great race.
And in order for a great race like this to take place, there's a lot of details that have to be ironed out. The man who puts it all together, OPT's Executive Director, John Carbonell.
I think you expect a great race. From what I understand, the seas are kicking up on the outside. So they'll have both rough and calm water, so I expect a tremendous race.
What are we looking for this season from OPT?
This season we're going to try and get bigger and better that we were last year, trying to get a lot of statistics and bring in a lot more sponsorship. We were able to bring in the Florida Keys and Key West as a major series sponsor. We've got, of course, Bud Dry, and I think by next race you'll see a lot more out there.
We are just moments away from the green flag for the Superboat class, Jim.
10 entries, starting with Campbell Racing, driver Elliott Sutton, throttleman Dan Campbell, and improved Bud Dry with August Bush IV and Jeff Soper in the cockpit. Gentry Eagle, the veterans Tom Gentry and John Connor teaming up once again. A brand new sponsor, Circus for Stephen Dorsich and John Bruno, Art.
Next, we have Powerboat Marine, Russell Wilkin and Jim Dyke in a fast 40-foot skater. Super Hawaii, and it's driven by Yashiro Katami, Jerry Gilbreth at the throttle. The defending world champion, Spirit of the Amazon, Ike Batista, and the veteran Bobby Moore. Little Caesars Pizza, back for another campaign with Pete Markey and Trey's Martin.
And rounding out the field, Team Jaguar with the company of Stark and Clark in the cockpit. Kid Apache with Alan Feingold and Jerry Davis. And that's our 10 entries for Superboats 1991.
And they're bearing down now for the start. It's Gentry Eagle and Jaguar. Jaguar, 35-footer. Classic confrontation there with a big boat.
Inside, Spirit of the Amazon, Ike Batista at the wheel. The throttle man is Bobby Moore. His hand is on the throttle. There he goes. He puts it forward. The driver says, okay, and they're in the heat of action.
It's still Gentry Eagle and Jaguar Marine battling it out for first place in the Superboat class. Basically, Gentry Eagle has the same hull with some modifications on the bottom, so it handles just a little differently. There's lots of innovations under the hatch covers.
Look at the white water as we look once again inside the cockpit of Spirit of the Amazon. Getting a pretty smooth ride. They'll have to make a left turn soon. Go under that 7-mile bridge. That's when they're going to really have to hang on. They're making their left turn now, coming toward the 7-mile bridge, and it is Gentry Turbo Eagle in the lead. as he straightens out and comes right for our camera on top of the 7 Mile Bridge. And look at Ike Batista take the Spirit of the Amazon through the wash in second place.
The Gentry Eagle hasn't had a lot of testing time on the water, but Tom Gentry feels this boat is the stepping stone to the next generation of offshore racers. Ike Batista and Bobby Moore there in the Spirit of the Amazon as they head for the bridge. You see the bridge over his shoulder. Now they hit the rough water, Jim.
Yes, they will. They're going into 3 to 4 foot swells as we look at the new entry, third place, Campbell Racing, coming under the bridge, going from the smooth water into the open waters of the Gulf.
Super Hawaii and Jaguar Marine battling it out into the bridge.
And Super Hawaii, the only diesel-powered craft in the race here today.
Now we get to the real test to see how the Gentry Eagle handles in the rough water. Tom Gentry, a veteran campaigner, but this year he's got a whole host of new competition.
Yeah, that's great. I personally like a lot of competition. You can't win them all, but you have to have guys to beat, you know, and so we'd, of course, like to be out in front, but we'll be one of those if not.
You're hands down the fastest man in offshore and a record to prove it. How fast is this new boat going?
Well, you can't tell. We don't have any trap speed on it, but it's running pretty good. I don't think it's as fast as what I hear out there, but you know, I think the boat's older and it's probably a little heavier, so if we ought to be able to handle these rough waters better.
A great start to the super boat class in rough seas off the 7 Mile Bridge.
The Florida Keys and Key West present the Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge and the start of the open class in just a moment.
Welcome back to the first offshore professional tour race of the season. The open class is getting ready in the milling area. Let's take a look at the starting lineups.
All right, our Dirty Laundry, the boat to beat the world and national defending champions Joe Mock and Harold Smith. Herb Stotler and Frank Kerbeck will challenge in the Island Runner. Excalibur, driven by the veteran Bob Kaiser and his partner Errol Lanier. Tom Slamenka teams up with David Cutler in Hyperactive. The Ferrari Collection, Ugo Colombo and Mandy Fernandez. Photo Finish with John Shields and David Windmiller.
Mean Streak is a 41-foot Apache, Robert Gallo and Bobby Cicente. Another Apache V, 41st Airborne, Rocky Summerall and Blair Blestel. Mercruiser Special Edition, John D'Elia and J.D. D'Elia. AES Motorsports, Alan Shapiro and Joey Imprescia. Ali Veit, Bill Aylesworth, and Pete Rhodes. Number 99, Ohio Steel, John Revan and Charlie Hogan.
All right, Art, all 12 are now following the pace boat for that all-important, exciting open start.
Oh, looks like a good start. Close competition all the way. Excalibur Photo Finish 1 and 2, and heavy traffic inside the cockpit with Joe Mock and Smitty Smith.
A smooth ride here now for Joe Mock, as you can see him at the wheel, not fighting it too hard as we're inside camera picks him up. He and his partner, Smitty Smith, going for a Sunday ride in this part of the course. But watch out once they get under that 7 Mile Bridge.
But right now, horsepower is the key here in the flat. Photo Finish on the left. Bob Kaiser's Excalibur closing in now. Great competition out in front. Dropping back the 40-foot AES Motorsport and Ali Veit, you see the red boat up at the top of your screen, Mean Streak. The Cats reeling in the V-bottoms here in the flat water.
All pretty much bunched up now as they come down, heading west along the spectator fleet, making that first left turn where they go under the bridge into much rougher water.
Hyperactive now in third as Dirty Laundry and Special Edition are starting to play it out up front.
Inside the cockpit once again, here's Joe Mock going for a Sunday ride. Look at the top of your screen. There's his old nemesis, John and J.D. D'Elia in the Special Edition. They battled all last year. Nothing will be different this year, to be sure.
Special Edition, you can see the lighter of the two taking the advantage a little bit here. The first turn, it's Hyperactive. At the 7 Mile Bridge, the new boat leads at the first turn.
And it's a catamaran, and coming through is another cat. They're all stretching out right now, still in smooth water.
That's Ferrari on the left. Joe Mock, though, should take care of Hyperactive once they get under the bridge, Jim.
Hyperactive coming under the bridge, no problem. He's in first place at this point.
Dirty Laundry, the red boat. Ferrari in special edition battling out for third. Here comes Excalibur. He's in fifth right now, looking strong, Jim.
Look at these boats now start to bounce as the swells go up to as high as 4 foot, as reported. And Dirty Laundry getting a little better ride than Hyperactive. And here he comes. He's going to take it. Heavy boat can fight it. Now watch Joe Mock. He's fighting that wheel a little bit more than we saw the last time back in smooth water.
Oh, this shot showing the endurance it takes to run into big water. Dirty Laundry on the left. Oh, Hyperactive almost lost it there. This season, the open class looks deeper and more varied, giving the defending champions another type of challenge.
Last year was basically a two-boat race. This year, as I see it, it's a 6 or 7. Very, very qualified, very fast, very good teams. It's going to be hard this year.
A lot of teams have chosen small, light, quick cats, and some teams have gone to the bigger, better rough water boats. You chose a larger boat. Why'd you do that?
Well, we've got a larger boat, but it's still a pretty quick boat. It'll run pretty close to the lightweight cats, and when we do get a little rough water, we should leave them.
A quiet guy, Joe Mock, taking a pounding right here, Jim.
And we'll be back with more action as the Florida Keys and Key West present the Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge in just a moment.
Welcome back to Marathon, the Florida Keys for OPT's premier race of the 91 season. It's the start of summer. Everyone's headed out to the water, Jim.
They sure are, Art. And with an estimated 17 million pleasure boats in this country and approximately 70 million people aboard, the importance of boat safety and education is of no small value. So what better way to start the recreational boating season than with National Safe Boating Week? Every year, the event sponsored by the National Safe Boating Council provides extensive media coverage, local exhibits, and special projects on safety, giving tips on the use of life jackets, boat handling, and tips on navigation are just a few of the ways the National Safe Boating Week contributes to decreasing the number of boating fatalities in the past 10 years.
3 organizations currently provide boating safety courses nationwide. They're the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, the United States Power Squadrons, and the Red Cross. We recommend that every boater take a boating safety course, and if you're interested, call one of these organizations to get information on a course in your area.
And now teaching everyone else on the way around the OPT course in the superboat class, we've got Spirit of the Amazon and Gentry Eagle. Gentry Eagle to the right, Spirit of the Amazon down on the left. 4 engines really answering the call each time the throttle man pushes that lever. Jim, he's got to back off the sticks when they get airborne. Otherwise, they'll over-rev the engine with no resistance and maybe blow an engine.
2 veteran teams, Batista and Moore, in the Spirit of the Amazon, Gentry Encounters and Gentry Turbo Eagle. Can you imagine you driving 100-mile-an-hour plus down the highway and have somebody else handling your throttles or your gas pedal? You have to have confidence. You have to think, if I sneeze, he's going to say gesundheit.
Bobby Moore's hand on the throttles. Ike Batista right there in the driver's seat. The Spirit of the Amazon taking the slight lead. Let's go to Rich Lures above the action.
We're looking for a challenge. The Gentry just throttled up to try to pass him before the bridge. Tom is showing him that he's got plenty of speed to match him in the calmer water. And right at the bridge, they're neck and neck. Gentry takes the lead back under the bridge. So Gentry let him catch him and then took off again.
If I have to make observations, Art, number 1, the Gentry Turbo Eagle, John Connor on the throttle, has maybe some hidden power. 2, they're taking advantage of this smooth part of the course. 3, the wily veteran Bobby Moore is not going to be sucked into over-revving his engines. He's going to take a let's-see attitude. They're going to challenge again before this is over.
Was that a magnificent play under the bridge? He might have showed his hand a little too soon. Here's Kid Apache, a surprising third, the V-bottom, taking advantage of the rough water. He did well in all the tough water condition races last year. Kid Apache could be a spoiler today.
We're looking at the 4th place 40-foot skater powerboat Marine. Jim Dyke and Russ Wilkin had a lot of decisions to make when they chose their new boat for 91.
Well, we've looked at the courses and what we're trying to accomplish with OPT and getting more spectator appeal and sponsorship appeal as well. We're building a boat that we believe is capable of winning approximately 80% of the races. Obviously, we know some of them are going to be rough, but we'll try to do our best in the smaller cat. But the smaller cat's a little bit more nimble. We can get in and out of the corners, and that's why we chose to go that way.
And it certainly looks to be a boat to watch for 1991, Art.
The engine on this craft is self-contained in one unit. You can lift it all out in one piece, making it easier for the crew between races to work on. Little Caesar's Pizza. Peter Markey, former world champion back in '89, and last year his best finish was second in San Francisco. He had 3 third-place finishes, an up-and-down season, but he did end up third in the national point race. The diesel-powered Super Hawaii, known for reliability. In fact, these are the same 4 engines that have gone 3,000 race miles.
Super Hawaii looking very dependent. Whoa, we've got a problem. Coming the wrong way through the bridge is Sutton and Campbell. They may have a steering problem. Looks like they're heading for the escape chute.
And another boat in trouble, Circus, a new boat. They just got this boat in the water yesterday. They needed more work and testing. The days were just not long enough for Circus. The attrition rate continues.
Look at the bouncing of our leader taking right now with Joe Mock at the wheel and Harold Smitty Smith handling the throttles and navigation. Last year's world and national champion. He's going to get a challenge again from Ferrari. They are not going to give up. Look at that rough water as they're out in the Gulf of Mexico.
Close competition as we anticipated in the open class. Dirty Laundry, that's Joe Mock. You're looking right over his shoulder, and Ferrari is at the top of his helmet. Oh, but great racing action in this long, rough race.
Looks like the hatches are smacking around in the back of Dirty Laundry. They're not hatched down. They could lose those. Meanwhile, Ferrari takes the lead once again in this seesaw battle.
Bob Kaiser and Errol Lanier in Excalibur. Better that it happened on Saturday than race day. Those were the words of Bob Kaiser at Dockside. They blew an engine in practice. Really haven't had time to get the new one dialed in. And plus, he has to set it up for rough water action this time around.
Well, the main adjustment is on the props. In calmer water, you use a larger prop that, of course, will push more water and give you higher top-end speed. Whereas in the rough water, you would like to have a small diameter prop so you can get the throttle response. As the boat goes in and out of the water, you want to have the response to have the boat, it's jumping in and out of the water, so you want to have the throttle man wants to have the response of the get up and go.
Look at this battle for third place with Excalibur, the black boat, and Hyperactive, the red and white boat. Side by side, it looks to me like the veteran team of Kaiser and Lanier kind of feeling out this new Hyperactive boat to see what it can do.
Hyperactive going to the limit, it looks like, as far as holding on to the action in the rough water. Number 44, Special Edition. Tons of experience here. Father John D'Elia, former world champion in the modified class, teamed with his son J.D., 2-time national champions, and on this very same course, Jim, barely missed winning their 3rd national championship. Of course, the conditions were more forgiving on that day.
And I spot some minor damage on the side of that boat. Here's the AES Motorsports, a 40-foot skater. 40-foot skaters race in Super and Open, but in the Superboat class, they consider them small. Here in the Open class, they consider them large.
While Alan Shapiro gains experience with the greater speeds, there's a guy in this craft that's got lots of experience. Bobby Cicenti is coming back from a terrible accident. He laid out a few seasons. He's in the mean streak, a classic V-bottom.
And Bob Cicenti, a class guy and a good competitor. Here's Dirty Laundry. Joe Mock and Harold Smitty Smith leading in Open. 86-mile-an-hour average. Let's go upstairs to Rich Lures.
We have an interesting aerodynamic problem going on in the Dirty Laundry as both of the engine hatches are flying up over the hull. I wonder if that's robbing air as the air intake scoops for the engines are now some of, I'd say 12 to 18 inches above the engines as opposed to stuck down on top of them. Certainly it's an unusual situation. I guess the tie-downs have completely let go on the back of the Dirty Laundry.
Now let's look at the scoreboards. Partway through the race, Gentry Eagle leading in Superboats, and Dirty Laundry holds the lead in Open class.
Some of the nuts and bolts of our race coming up when we get back. Art Ekman, Jim Hendrick, and Rich Lures for OPT Season's Opener. Millions of dollars of machinery on the water. The competitors will tell you victory could come down to the smallest of parts.
In order to be competitive in this sport, you must be willing to spend over $2 million a year. The cost of the hull alone is over $1 million, and each engine is over $80,000. Remember, there are 4 engines in a boat like the Spirit of the Amazon here. The cost of winning may be high, but the reality of losing may be as little as a 5-cent part.
You have to have everything perfect. That's why we have checklists. We have to go over and over and then have somebody else check it, because you may forget something. And it's so important because we don't get a second chance. When the flag drops, if we have to stop, we lose, and we don't intend to lose.
Offshore racing isn't exactly a game of inches. With 50 feet of roaring superboat beneath you pushing over 4,000 horsepower, it's easy to forget that tens of thousands of small parts make up these big boats. And when something does go wrong, there are no pit stops in offshore racing. Any repairs or adjustments must be made on course or not at all. So it's up to the crews to make sure everything is literally shipshape before the race boat leaves the docks. That means double-checking everything right down to the 2,000 to 3,000 nuts and bolts that make up an average race boat setup. Simple fittings like this one have stopped many a championship effort. What makes this particularly vexing is how difficult the loss of contact is to see among the dozens of wires in a state-of-the-art setup. If a 50-cent hose clamp lets go, it could render an $80,000 turbocharged race engine worthless. Even the most mundane objects can terminate a race team's plans. The simple misplacing of a mechanic's rag can easily destroy an engine. Last year, here in Marathon, Steve Dorsich was in a position to win the Pro 1 National Championship when he experienced a minor problem.
We had a $5 part bust on us, and because of that, we lost the national championship. And basically, it was just a rubber hub in the prop, and it spun. And because of that, no, we lost the race.
Well, this is a good combination here.
In offshore racing, a boat is only as good as its weakest component. If that component is a 2-cent part, it better be the best installed and serviced 2-cent part that money can buy.
Back to the action. Incredible, the open class battle is still underway between this craft, Ferrari, and the defending U.S. and world champion, Dirty Laundry. Look at the rough seas, Jim.
And look at the way Joe Mock is battling that wheel now. He's got his hands full. Look at him bounce. Our camera bolted to the boat does not shake, but it really captures the action inside of driver and his crewman.
And such a big boat to take such a pounding. He's catching up in the deep water now.
These throttlemen have to be really quick. If they launch off a wave, they got to turn around and get off that throttle before they wind the prop too tight and brake. And then just as they hit, they have to power on again. So the throttleman is back and forth on the throttles. The wheelman is fighting the wheel to keep it straight, and the fight as they launch off a wave. And look at Ferrari, goes up and almost trips off the stern as the Dirty Laundry takes the lead. Joe Mock bouncing in the cockpit, takes the lead. Seesaw battle between the two.
Mock has the power and the size on the straightaway, no matter what the water condition is. Ferrari picks up a lot of distance, we've noticed, in the corners of the action. Here's Hyperactive now. They've been running on the edge, trying to stay competitive and doing a good job of it, but right on that edge all the time. You know, they had the modifications in the off-season. Hyperactive, very competitive, but whoa, look at that. Oh, my goodness.
He just broke apart. He launched off a wave. You saw a smaller wave trip his stern, nose him in. That boat, the Pickle Forks front end of that catamaran have come apart.
Disintegration at over 100 miles an hour. Now look for Tom Slamecka and Dave Cutler. Dave he's the throttle man. The throttle side is completely wrecked, completely disintegrated.
Throttleman and driver are out of the boat and in the water as Bobby Kaiser and Errol Lanier come upon the scene in their boat, the Excalibur. They're circling to try to help. The boat right now is on its stern. Let's look at its slow motion. Let's see where it launches. He launches off the big wave. Look at the stern, trips the little one and noses in, and the boat completely disintegrates in the front.
Excalibur stopping on the scene, and the Delia's also coming up to help out. There's the Excalibur coming in, and Bob Kaiser is already up. He's diving into the water to make sure that either Slamecka or Cutler is okay. Errol Lanier also in the water now.
They're both going for each crewman to keep their face out of the water. They're probably dazed at this point. Now, it's Special Edition pulling in too. J.D. Delia, the throttle man, he comes out. He's jumping over to assist.
J.D. knowing what it's like. He's been in this position before, being in the water all alone, not knowing where the rescue crews are yet. And you're still in a state of shock, that's for sure.
Our chopper now pulling back as the medical chopper comes in to effect the rescue. We hope the crew is all right. Now let's go back to action. Up on the course, the superboats continue as the battle between the Gentry Eagle and Spirit of the Amazon is still taking place.
Gentry Eagle with that power. There's no question about it. Tom Gentry telling me we've got the power. We can generate incredible power, 160 miles an hour through the traps. And he's out in front right now.
We're looking at checkpoint 6, that hairpin turn by the Ferro Blanco as they complete another lap. And then the smooth water takes over and they can let it all hang out.
Ike Batista approaching this new campaign with the same racing philosophy as their World Championship season of 1990. He says the one who breaks last wins, and they are so consistent under the tutelage of Bobby Moore. Moore's worked his magic once again on this craft. This year's rendition has a new fuel injection management system. Actually, it's very similar to Dirty Laundry's in the open class.
Our leader is the Gentry Eagle, averaging over 96 mile an hour in super. Ferrari averaging over 88 mile an hour in open class. We'll be back with more action of the Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge in just a moment.
This portion of the Florida Keys and Key West Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge is sponsored by Zenith Data Systems, official personal computer of the Offshore Professional Tour.
Boy, we've had a great time down here in the southernmost part of the United States. It's a beautiful area, the Florida Keys. Let's take a closer look.
The Florida Keys and Key West. Unlike any other place in the world, these isles have a certain attitude and lifestyle all their own. Unhurried, laid back. Here it seems man and nature move along at the same pace. Key Largo, just 45 miles south of Miami, encompasses the world-famous John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. This is the only living coral reef in North America and a diving heaven. Isla Mirada, just south of Key Largo, is best known as the sport fishing capital of the world. From blue water sailfish and marlin to backcountry bonefish and permit, Isla Mirada is everyone's favorite fishing home. Marathon's located right in the center of the Keys chain. With almost every activity under the sun, Marathon is the appropriate heart and soul of the Florida Keys. South of Marathon lie the unspoiled isles and waterways of the lower Keys. With much of the area protected in sanctuaries and refuges, the lower Keys are home to thousands of birds, animals, and reptiles, sheltering a number of endangered species as well. Then there's Key West. At the southernmost tip of the Keys, this island is filled with many reminders of its colorful past, from Spanish adventurers and treasure hunters to presidents, artists, and writers. Key West is odd and eccentric, bold and curious, where every sunset is met with a carnival of life. These are the Florida Keys and Key West. Year-round, visitors enjoy arts and crafts shows, festivals and events, powerboat races, and much, much more in this tropical playground that knows no seasons. From Key Largo to Key West, these are the eclectic isles of America's Caribbean, the Florida Keys and Key West.
The rescue and cleanup crews have everything under control. Is hyperactive, what's left of it being towed away. It's a typical launch, trip, and stuff, Jim.
Dave Cutler, the throttleman, has possible rib fractures along with head and chest contusions. Tom Slameka, the driver, head and chest contusions. Both men, they report, are conscious and alert and have been taken to Fisherman's Hospital.
And a big new development while we were away. Gentry Eagle. It sounded like it was a drive problem. Attrition is a big factor now.
6 boats as they're listed here in the superboat class. 6 of the 10 are out of action. In the open class, 12 boats started. 6 are running, 6 are out. And there's 2 boats out in Pro 1 for a total of 14 boats that have had to return to shore.
Let's go back to the water now in Pro 1 action, battling for the lead through the 7-mile bridge. P10 Agitator, it's an inboard, and Thoroughbred and outboard. Classic confrontation here.
Alan and Kirk Dunneman, father and son in the Agitator, leading the Thoroughbred, driven by Eddie Shear and crewman Steve Levine. Those 2 are giving chase as they go into the bridge. Now they are going from smooth water to rough water, and let's see how these smaller craft launch off the waves.
This is a race within a race between Team Skater and P14 Eastern Express. Well, they've got everything they can handle out there in the rough water. And up ahead, you see the deep V of Little Caesars Pizza. That's a super boat. Now, you'll see that deep V just take away with these smaller craft in this type of condition.
This is a Michigan battle between Team Skater with Joe Jacobson and Red Crane, who, by the way, is my neighbor in Harrison Township, Michigan. Eastern Express, Joe Brashami from St. Clair Shores and Robert Carrick from Algonac, Michigan.
In fifth place, First Offense, having a tough time of it back there, is High Risk, last year's national champion.
Oh, look at him launch off that wave. Rick Felson and John Engel. No wonder they're having a little trouble and in that unfamiliar position of last place.
No modifications on these Pro 2 boats. Splish Splash. The owner, Alan Pariser, Rick Doriathil on the throttle, and Tony DeBolito is the driver of Splish Splash.
And they feel every single bounce of this smaller Pro 2 class boat.
Last year's national champions, Great Adventure, the Gazelle brothers. This is a 31-foot Sutphin. They also have a catamaran for the flatwater races. And right next to them, Can't Touch This, closing in on the flatwater.
Yes, they're heading for that turn that'll take them out of the bridge, and then they'll really have their hands full as they get into rougher water. Right now, they get a breather, and they can pick up speed in smoother water along the shoreline.
S-87 approaching us now. These are the smallest boats in the race. A proving ground for many of these throttle men and drivers.
Not too much adjustments to take them out of the showroom for personal use and put them on the race course. A little bit, but not too much.
A winner on the circuit last year, Conch Attack.
The S-11 Archer Marine, Nigel Hook and Craig Archer, the crew in this one. They're sitting down and not taking too bad of a ride at this point in the race.
Out of the Pro 1 and Pro 2 classes, let's take another look at the superboats now at another part of the course. Inside, Spirit of the Amazon, Ike Batista and Bobby Moore. Now the pressure is off of them after Gentry Turbo Eagle had their mechanical problems, Jim.
Bobby Moore checking some of the gauges. He might not like what he sees at this point, but they're now pacing themselves much slower after having a head-to-head, deck-to-deck battle earlier with Gentry. Amazon leading at an average speed of 92.5 miles an hour over the rest of the superboats. Ferrari leading in open class, averaging 86.1 miles an hour. We'll be back with more action here in Marathon and a word from the defending world champion Ike Batista in just a moment.
Inside the offshore cockpit with Ike Batista of Brazil. He joined the OPT circuit at midseason last year, winning his very first race on Lake Michigan, then capping the season with the World Championship. He's chairman of the board and CEO of Consolidated TVX Mining Corporation, the second largest gold producer in Brazil. From 3 mines, they produced 300,000 ounces of gold in 1990. While in the big league of business, Ike competes on the jagged edge at speeds of over 100 miles an hour.
If you're physically fit, mentally okay, you know, a 48-foot cat, the one I'm racing here in the States, at the speeds we're going, I mean, you know, we average something between 90 and 120 sometimes. It's a speed that, you know, with the reactions I have physically and my notion of speed, that I can cope with that, and I feel very, very safe. The length plus the cockpit, which is something that that the superboat class has, is something that makes me at least feel so much safer.
Behind Ike's success is veteran builder and throttle man Bobby Moore, and he has a special feeling for his mentor.
Impeccable. It's difficult to describe. The best in the world. I never seen something. I never seen. You know, in a boat, I never seen somebody doing something, you know, with so much knowledge. So he's constantly looking for improvements. And this is, you know, today in motorsport, you know, in this sport, if you want to stay at the top, that's what you have to do. And he's a man like that.
Ike has another wonderful support system, his lovely wife, Luma. They're expecting their first child in August, Jimmy.
We'll congratulate them in advance. Now we look at the open action. The leader is the number 26 boat Ferrari Collection, Hugo Colombo and Mandy Fernandez, averaging close to 86 miles an hour. The strawberry-colored boat at the top of the screen, Little Caesars, is in the superboat class and is not battling the Ferrari. Here, the yellow and black maintains first in open class racing. Looking into the cockpit of the number 2 boat, it's the Dirty Laundry, not giving up Joe Mock and Harold Smitty Smith. They're the defending world and national champions. They're going to try to close the gap before the checker flag falls.
And look at that, Joe Mock bouncing around so much he had to reach up and tighten the restraining harness. Joe Mock, another consistent performance. AES Motorsports, Alan Shapiro, anxious to get himself into that open class. Like many, he feels it's the class to run in for competition and safety. Alan is teaming with Joey and Prescia. They're confident of their equipment this year. They've been able to do extensive testing. This is not expected to be a shakedown run, and it certainly hasn't been to this point.
Meanwhile, our number 4 boat, 33, Mean Streak, and the veteran Bob Cicenti. On the throttles, working very hard as that boat bounces wildly. He has to come back on the throttles. Look at that right-hand work. Your 5th place boat is the Excalibur. Looks like they're slowing down, having some problems. Let's go to Rich Lurs for a report.
Well, experiencing quite a bit of bow steer right now is the Excalibur. Carrying her bow very, very low, and these waves are coming in from the beam. And as we've seen sometimes with the Arneson drives, you do get a boat with a mind of its own as far as steering is concerned, and that's what Bob Kaiser's experiencing right now. She's carrying her bow very, very low. Maybe we can get you a better shot of this to show you just exactly what we mean. The boat is basically refusing to go straight. In these kind of seas, we're running downwind. It's called broaching. The technical word for it is broaching, and many skippers will be familiar with that. It's just a little bit faster in offshore racing. But we have a severe broaching condition right now on board the Excalibur. That means that the effort level on the part of the driver, Bob Kaiser, has got to be way up. He's working as hard as he can just to keep this boat going in the direction he wants to. But what she's doing is there's so much boat in the water that each sponson is trying to act like a keel and picking up a different wave. One wave pushing it to the left, and the next one pushing it to the right. That is a driver's nightmare.
Thank you very much, Rich. The throttle man might be adding power left or right on each engine to help steer. It could be a drive problem also plaguing them.
Turning to Pro 1, our leader is Agitator. He's not just leading, he's going flat out, well over 100 miles an hour. And this is amazing, for they had to detune their engines to qualify for this class. They've got them singing right now as they just skip along that flat water. Let's move to the open class. Ferrari, your leader. Last year, it was special edition, battling Dirty Laundry, the season-long battle. Well, in this season first race of 1991, it's Ferrari versus Dirty Laundry, and look at how close that helicopter is, Jim.
He took the spray right off the stern. Meanwhile, Joe Mock and Smitty Smith continue to battle as we look inside the cockpit of Dirty Laundry, and they're very close to the leader. More action from OPT after this timeout.
The OPT Superboats are headed for the checkered flag. Let's go to Rich Lures.
Now we're coming down for the finish with the Spirit of the Amazon, running 120 miles an hour here at the end. Coming down for the checkered flag, and they're just letting all the horses out. Here she comes. There she goes. Pulls away from us at 120, 125, 130. Wow! Look at the rooster tail come off this thing. What horsepower! And there you go. There's your winner in the Superboat class, Spirit of the Amazon. An awesome display of horsepower and performance. I'm impressed.
Here's the results of Superboat. Amazon first, Kid Apache, Little Caesars, Powerboat Marine, and Gentry Eagle. First through 5, average winning speed, 90.85 mile an hour.
Jim, a big turn of events now in the open division. Dirty Laundry is down. It looks like, well, they had overheating problems in the first 2 races last year, but this is the first breakdown I can remember. There's Joe Mock with his helmet off. Smitty Smith looking back under those canopies, and here it looks like our winner of the open class, Ferrari, has an open field now for the finish line.
They're the winner in open class. Ferrari in a fine run race by this crew, winning race number 1, OPT action 1991. Here's the open class results. Ferrari, AES Motorsports, Mean Streak, Dirty Laundry, and Excalibur. Average winning speed, 84.5 mile an hour. Now let's go down to the winner's dock of the Pro 2 team, Splish Splash and Art Ekman. Art?
The throttle man of this victorious crew is Rick Dory. And Rick, it was a little tad rough out there for this little craft at one time.
Well, we took a beating out there pretty hard, and after about 3 or 4 laps of the thing, you start just getting a little bit delirious. And we went by the Archer Marine Special, and I remembered a story that Craig told me once about when him and John Connor and Betty Cook won the Worlds, and John was in 10-foot seas, and he just put the nose of the boat down and crashed right through the waves. And all of a sudden that came to me, and I said, well, maybe I ought to learn how to ride this boat. So I trimmed it in hard and just started crashing through with them, gave a big yahoo in the helmet, and we were having fun. At that point in time, I figured maybe we were going to win this thing.
And Tony, you just hung on?
That's about the way it was today. Hanging onto the wheel, Rick kept the right side up, kept the boat going where it was supposed to.
Here was the results now for Pro 2, the way they finished, and the national points they gained off to the right. Let's go to Jim at Dockside for our Pro 1 winner.
Alan, you have an inboard boat. Not too many of them in this class are. Do you think that was an advantage today?
Well, I can tell you this, the first lap out, when we hit the rough water, we were in 4th place. So you tell me how much advantage.
Okay, Kirk, where was the rough water?
Rough water started about a mile outside the bridge. We had to start setting the tabs down and trim the drives under. And we really, with the inboards, we started losing our top RPM, so we didn't have the punch we needed out there. But it felt good when we came back inside. We maybe had a little top end speed on. We could get by a couple of them coming in the calm water. And then we got back out in the rough, and it just seemed that, fatigue started taking its toll on the other racers. And we just kept on pushing it right along, and it ended up in a victory for us.
The standings in Pro 1, Agitator with 507 points in the national race, Thoroughbred taking the 2nd, Eastern Express the 3rd. We'll be back with the rest of our winners in a moment.
Jim Hendrick along with Art Ekman and Rich Lures here at Marathon, Florida Keys. Let's go down to the dockside and the open class winners.
And you had a great battle with Dirty Laundry.
Yeah, it was a very exciting race. We definitely loved the outcome of it, and it was great racing all through the whole race.
Hugo, the breakers weren't that big as far as this boat handling it against the bigger boat, Dirty Laundry.
Yes, but I think we make a good team, and man is just an outstanding throttle-man, and he did a great job out there on those waves. We had him straight in our face. This boat is a disadvantage with this kind of seas, and we had a very good outcome.
A very good outcome indeed. Here's how they finished in the open class points. 511 national points for Ferrari, your winner. Jim is with the defending world champion and today's Superboat winner and his crew at Dockside.
Ike Batista, it looks like you've picked up where you left off winning the World Championships. Here's the first race of the year, victorious.
Yes, well, we're fortunate again, no doubt.
Now, Bobby Moore was telling me that there was a pretty tight race between the Gentry, Turbo Eagle, and yourself.
Oh, the first 3 laps were fantastic. The best racing we've had in a couple of years. They must have had mechanical problems, but the first 3 laps were really a cat fight.
Who's the guy on your left?
Oh, that's Randy Robinson, our crew chief and navigator. He's been with me about 4 years now, and he really puts a lot of effort in keeping the boat together for us.
The Superboat points now. Amazon, your first place leader. Kid Apache, Little Caesars Pizza took a 3rd in today's opening race. We're going to be taking a special look after every race this year. The Florida Keys Key West Key Maneuver of the race. And our Key Maneuver today, it goes to Excalibur and Mercury Special Edition for taking themselves virtually out of the momentum of the race to aid the crew of Hyperactive. Congratulations, guys, on great sportsmanship.
Our next race of OPT action will take place a little farther north in the state of Florida, up the Atlantic coast, Cocoa Beach for the Space Coast Offshore Challenge. And Art Ekman, it's been a real thrill today to start out another OPT season. Beautiful conditions, great racing.
An all-time season opener, tight racing, great speeds, the challenge of rough conditions. Art Ekman for Jim Hendrick and Rich Lures saying, thanks for being with us for the premiere of the OPT season. The Florida Keys and Key West Bud Dry Draft Marathon Offshore Challenge has been sponsored by Bud Dry, dry brewed so it drinks light, yet satisfies completely. And by Skin Bracer, no better way to face the day. Skin Bracer by Menon. And by the Florida Keys and Key West, now is the time to just let go in the Keys. A promotional consideration was provided by Ferro Blanco Marine Resort, offering casual to luxurious accommodations, sumptuous dining, and a full-service marine facility. Ferro Blanco Marine Resort. This has been a production of IPI Sports in association with ESPN.